My name's Alanna. I'm a professional vegan chef. And the only thing more ridiculous than this hat is my homemade haircut. I'm making this video for Buddhist Action Month to show you how easy it is to add flavorful twists to your meals the cruelty-free way. Let's get cooking. Today we're going to be looking at tofu. How do you choose the right kind? And then what do you do with it? It's so often referred to disparagingly and it can just be a little bit confusing. Don't worry, I'm going to give you some tips. First we're going to be looking at firm tofu. That's my favorite kind to work with. So let's have a look at the 4 different brands that you'll find in almost all the supermarkets in this area. All 4 of these brands are very good quality. However, Cauldron Organic Tofu, pictured on the right in the bottom corner, is owned by Premier Foods, which also operates in business with brands like Kraft, Frey Bento, Nestle, and Cadbury. So its ethics are a little shaded, and you might want to consider that when choosing your tofu. Now, one other drawback to using the Cauldron brand tofu is that it's packed in a lot of liquid. It's going to need to be pressed and preferably overnight. Any of the other brands are vacuum sealed and they're going to be ready to use much more quickly. Now, to press your tofu, you don't need to invest in any of those expensive tofu presses. All you really need are a couple of plastic boxes that are about the same size. I put the tofu in one, another plastic box there, and then I flip it over. I use a 3rd plastic box, but you could also use a plate or a bowl. Flip it over, press it down, and set it in the fridge. And if you're going to use the Cauldron brand tofu, try and leave it in the fridge overnight. I usually put a heavy jar of pickles or a tin can or even a big book on top to help press it down, because the more of the liquid we can get out, the more of the delicious flavors it's going to soak up when we put it in a marinade. Here we've got fresh garlic, ginger, soy sauce, and vegetable oil. That's a great base marinade. But you could also think about adding white miso, some mirin, toasted sesame oil, or dried spices, maybe even some chili flakes. I put all of the ingredients for my marinade into the blender, but if you don't have a blender, don't worry about it. It's okay. Just roughly chop them up and mix them all together. The most important thing to think about is having a good time. Play around with ingredients. Don't worry if you don't get it perfect the first time. Have a good time with it. So I've blended my ingredients today and I've mixed them with my pieces of tofu, and I'm going to let them sit in this bowl for at least half an hour. Next, let's try making a marinade using fresh dill, white wine, Dijon mustard, olive oil, sliced onion, fresh garlic, and some sea salt and black pepper. This time for the marinade, I've decided to just roughly hand chop everything. You can see here, I've got the onions, garlic, the dill, all mixed up together with some olive oil, white wine, and Dijon mustard. Again, don't get too worried about the exact quantities, or if you don't have fresh dill, you know what, you can use dried dill. Just play around, have a good time, take an adventure. It's really quite fun. After allowing the tofu to marinate, we prepare it for baking. Sometimes I like to use this muffin tin. That way each piece of tofu is surrounded by a little bit of the marinade. I've preheated the oven to gas mark 6. That's 200 degrees Celsius. And I've prepared the other tofu that we're going to bake as well. I've put this tofu into a terracotta dish and made sure that none of the pieces are touching. That way the marinade can go all around them and they're going to bake up best. You want to bake your tofu for 20 minutes, then remove it from the oven, turn the pieces around and allow that marinade to move a bit, and that way all of the different sides of the tofu will be exposed and you can put the tofu back in the oven for another 15 to 20 minutes. You'll know when it's ready. In the meantime, you can start to prepare the vegetables or rice or other items that you're going to want to serve with your meal. Now that our soy ginger tofu is ready, we can either let it cool and then store it in the refrigerator for 3 or 4 days, or we can add it straight away to any sort of a stir fry or a curry or any dish you can think of. I'm going to put mine in pad thai. Now let's check our other tofu and see if it's ready as well. Hey, look at this. It's baked up so lovely. I think I'm going to put it in a Greek salad once it's cool. You could also use it in any kind of a hot application. You could put it with any sort of a sauce or pasta. Really, anything you can imagine. I hope that what we've looked at together today has inspired you to look at new ways to create old favorites and how to use ingredients that you already have around you in ways that you never have before. Happy cooking!